Welcome to humanity. This is Hour 1.
Whatever it takes, we got to say whatever it takes is what it took.
This is Brock Lesnar, and you're listening to Fight Net Radio.
Yo, hi, this is Sugar Ray Leonard, and you listen to Fight Net Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to listen to Fight Net Radio.
Me, Harvey Oswald, what's your name? How am I supposed to know you?
This is Frank Shamrock. We're listening to Fight Net Radio.
Hi, this is Mia, the Knockout St. John, and you're listening to Fight Net Radio, and there's no way I would ever touch Lee.
This is Chuck Jackson.
I am Stephen Bonner, and you're listening to Fight Net
Glenn
Radio.
Henderson, you're listening to Fight Net Radio.
Everybody, welcome to Fight Net Radio, where Lee's burning every bridge there is out there. All right.
Hi, this is Manny Pacquiao. I'll fight anybody on FightNetRadio.com.
Welcome to Fight Net Radio. My name is Lee Hunter, joined by Andrew Labate. We are talking boxing, because that's what we talk mostly about this place. Not that we don't have other co-hosts, I just don't know where most of the other co-hosts are. Visit us at FightNetRadio.com, Instagram at FightNetRadio, and Facebook at FightNet Radio. You can hear the show on multiple platforms, but we'd really like you to sign up at iTunes, since that's the only way their ranking system seems to work. With that said, we had a full weekend, and happy Memorial Day to all the veterans who served on behalf of all of us. I went to boxing on Friday. There was PBC on Saturday. So let us reverse engineer this. PBC was a much bigger fight card than Oscar's card on Friday night at Fantasy Springs, and certainly a bigger fight card than the one I had out in the back parking lot at the D Hotel. So let's talk about PBC on CBS or NBC. It's CBS this time. Or was it NBC? I can't keep up. He buys time everywhere. Al Heyman put on another card with the Matrix, Anthony Dirrell.
Andre
Dirrell,
yeah. Anthony's the younger brother.
Whatever, they're the same. The Dirrells are the same.
They're about to be the same, yeah. And if you don't win the fights, yeah, you become irrelevant real quick in this sport.
One Dirrell is the same as the other Dirrell in my mind. Okay, so Andre Dirrell, the Matrix. What a dumbass name that is. That's the dumbest. I look at nicknames on fighters, and there was a guy fighting on Friday night in the back parking lot named Boykin. How do I not make a joke? Certainly, I'm impressed that Boykin got the KO victory, but he's the X Factor, Boykin, who I saw. But I was obsessed with his last name of Boykin. If my name was Boykin,
you might be a fighter.
You'd have to be a fighter. Look, there's no doubt in my mind the reason that Saul Canelo Alvarez became a fighter was because they were beating his, redheaded white lily ass up every day at school, so he became a fighter to stay alive.
Yeah, some not so nice jokes when you're that light complected.
I'm sure that's why he went into fighting. There's no doubt in my mind. Look, I get it. It's all good. So when your name is Boykin, you better be able to knock people out, because I am positive throughout this, 20-something-year-old kid's life, the number of jokes about the last name Boykin are probably amazing. By the way, I had the ugliest ring card girls I've ever seen at a fight. Like, they didn't even try hard. They didn't go over to Glitter Gulch and even get, bad strippers. I mean, these were, like, did you find them over, where did you find them? I was shocked at the drink attendant girl was better looking than the ring card girl. That is completely out of whack. I mean, what's your opinion? Let's start the show off on something important. Ring card girls, right? Isn't the point of putting a ring card girl, like Top Rank or many of the other organizations, to put in somebody far too hot that you probably, for most people, will never be able to get in their lifetime?
Yeah, but the
Are you going to say
quality,
something bullshitty?
The quality of the ring card girl really matters on the amount of money that fighter generates that night. That's how I see it, Lee. It's almost like these young hip hop artists, when they first make a music video, it's usually in their hometown with some girls from around the neighborhood. Then you give them a few $1 million, and all of a sudden they always have models around them. So I think the same thing goes for boxing. If you're in a ballroom or in a parking lot, I believe you said this fight possibly was in the back of a
yeah, but it was
lot.
the D Hotel. I mean, it's an independently owned hotel that's been remodeled. I want to say this for everybody. The D Hotel in Las Vegas, it's competitive with everything in downtown is remodeled now. Almost all of the major hotels.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Really nice. The D is like the spot. In fact, what bothers me more about downtown now is the fact that you don't have hookers walking around in downtown anymore. It's like really cleaned up. I always say this, Vegas should always be on the verge of I should never bring my child here and I need a shower. That's Vegas to me. That's how I want to feel when I go to Vegas. Now it's a family atmosphere. Downtown has zip lines. It's, got Coney Island hot dogs. It's a whole thing. They're a roller coaster away from being a theme park. So we were at the D Hotel, great hotel, completely remodeled. There's my plug for the D Hotel. Huge sponsors, Lucas Oil, Roy Jones Jr. Square Ring Promotion. I mean, like huge sponsors involved in this. Effin Vodka. I can't even make up that name. Effin.
Lee.
Vodka.
I heard.
Effin Vodka. Effin.
I heard downtown went back to the old bosses that
did.
used to run the casino.
This guy looks like old school. Well, let me talk about the main event for a minute before I get back to the card girls.
Ahead.
So the final fight of the night, and you can hear the audio. It's posted now. Go to Fight Net Radio. But the main event was a guy. I can't even pronounce his name. But they were fighting for like the IBF Intercontinental or one of those, right? And there are 5 guys in suits watching their guy. And their guy lost the first 7 rounds. And then in the 8th round, he pulled it out of his butt and he won the fight by TKO because the other kid ran out of gas. But I'm telling you, there were 7 guys who obviously spent a lot of money on this fighter. And they were his backers. And I'm telling you, it wasn't like, okay, we all hypothesize about fights being fixed. We all hypothesize about guys in suits who were behind the fighters. These guys were standing there. It was legit. They were at the entryway. And by all means, go watch CBS Sportsnet and rewatch the fight. When the camera swings around, you'll see them on the entryway to the ring. They're basically standing at the edge of the guardrail through the entry point into the ring, crowded in, watching their fighter. In fact, they were the only ones making noise. And if he made any kind of shot, I was fascinated. So to answer your question, the guys in suits are very real. I mean, the old school vibe is very real. My whole thing.
And Lee, when I said that, let me clear that up. When I said that, I didn't mean literally the old bosses are coming back. Obviously, we know a lot of guys that first started the casinos out there are now passed away. But if you look at the last names of the people that took over downtown, there are a lot of connections. And that's what Vegas, they're missing that family environment. There's a lot of people that think Vegas has went too young up in where the MGM and all the other casinos are. So this down here, it'll
too
work.
Young or too ghetto? What's your word?
I'll stick with too young.
That's
too
very
young,
polite of you. And I'll tell you what the weird, for everybody who went out there Memorial Day, they'll be the first to tell you. So there were like 3 major events in Vegas, right? At the MGM was Anthony Rumble Johnson getting beat by, Daniel Cormier, if I pronounce his name correct, at the MGM for UFC Fight Night. By the way, listen to Fight Net Radio. We'll have the crew back and we'll talk about UFC. That's at the MGM. But
Cormier is like the Joe Frazier of UFC now, huh?
Yeah, he's got some action on him, but he can wrestle.
But because John Jones is out there, he's like the Ali, right? Cormier's not the real champ unless he beats John Jones.
Well, John Jones can't get sober long enough to be in the ring, so I'll say it for the room.
Sort of not Ali.
Well,
then.
and that's the funny part, right? So like literally down to Harrah's Casino, it's every nightclub has every DJ on the planet, and I don't want to sound like an old fart who doesn't get it. I don't get DJs and how they get paid that much money, and I realize it's their music and it's their soundtracks and their beds that they make, like Tiesto and Cascade and all of these guys. They make their own music. I get that that's what they do, right? And then after parties with Kevin Hart. I mean, like, it's crazy. That's the Strip for the weekend. Now in downtown, they had a punk festival. And smack dab in the middle of that on Saturday night, Casey and the Sunshine Band is performing, which makes no sense when you got a punk festival in downtown. And when I mean punk festival, people between the ages of 20 and 50 with tattoos and cut-off jean jackets and piercings that I can't even describe or explain, right? And then mid-strip, and I'll say this because I don't think they're so anonymous, they're doing Cocaine Anonymous World, the World, this is going to piss off anybody who's in the program, but the CA World Convention was like at Harrah's or mid-strip. I mean, it was a weird weekend of weird people in weird places. So the top of the Strip was, what's the word, Andrew? Very urban, right? MGM
young,
down.
Very young.
I started at the MGM.
I think the UFC does a good job of bringing in a mixed crowd. No? You're saying it was predominantly urban this weekend.
It was, look, I'll say that it was a younger crowd. Obviously, they jumped on the UFC coattails. There was a lot of plastic, both in the ass and in the breasts at the MGM. As I got to downtown, there was a lot of metal inserted into body parts and a lot of ink on skin. And I'm there with in fact, my fiance was making jokes of, sounds like you're going to get into trouble the way you're thinking and talking. I said, I have a 260-pound guy with me who can knock people out in one punch. I'm not worried about me. I'm
stepping it up.
Yeah, I brought a fucking heater with me. I mean, I took him to Hash House a Go-Go. You got to feed a big boy like that. So I go to dinner with Billy, and then he and I went and recorded and covered the 3 fights that they had that were televised. It was a great evening. Then he drove out to Arizona to go watch more boxing.
I seen that. Yeah.
Good times for him. But I was really fascinated with the old school vibe. The guy who runs the D, obviously throwback. The 5 guys standing around during the main event, it started at 4, then went to 5. And literally in the 7th round when this kid was losing, one of the guys went over to the corner and had, quote unquote, the talk. And I said,
stop.
I'm not making this up. You can hear the audio. I'm not making this up. And I go, Billy, is this good for boxing or bad for boxing? He goes, this is boxing. This is the way it is.
Yeah.
And you could physically see it. I don't know how it shows on CBS, but I'm telling you, sitting there, because we had a table up against the ring.
Maybe he had a tip, Lee. Maybe he's seen something that the trainer didn't.
Guys with money don't have tips. What they have is a stick up their ass thinking their investment is about to get beat when he's undefeated. And they went over and had a little bit of
it was an undefeated fighter.
Oh, and he was getting beat for 7 straight. 7 straight.
Yeah, that changes a lot. All right.
7. The dude's 20.
Remember Donald Trump, Hector Camacho, Roberto Duran, caught on audio. If he makes it, he wins, and he keeps on walking.
Right. And
no more fights at the Trump Plaza.
I'm literally watching this thing play out, and I go, why don't we have open scoring? I mean, there were 2 things that came out of the weekend for me. 1, why don't we have open scoring? Why don't we have open scoring?
Well, I'm sorry, that's a question. We don't have open scoring, Lee, because we don't want fighters to start running for the last 4 or 5 rounds if they know they're ahead on the cards.
That's the theory behind it, right? But what about the guy who's behind on the scorecards? Wouldn't that mean he'd have to become more aggressive?
He's going to have to become more aggressive, but in boxing, if you do not get knocked down, that's a 1-point loss. So he literally is going to have to catch that guy. It's just I think it's a bad avenue. I really do. I don't like the open scoring.
Why? What is the downside? Because let's take a bad.
The downside is fighters being a lot more cautious in the winner. Obviously, the winner being a lot more cautious in the championship rounds.
I watched a kid named Jesus Gonzalez. I want to get his name right? From Culiacan. Can't even make this up. Chewy. That was his
Nice.
nickname. Yeah, Jesus Gonzalez from Culiacan.
Not too many of those.
21-0, 19
Jesus
knockouts.
and Chewy.
Jesus too. Now resides in Las